Hello there, we're now on video 46. We're working on both the left and the right controllers today. Alright, so let's fire up the gizmo. Pick the cylinder 3D from the gear menu, press unify, and set the H divides to 24. Give it a little rotation, a 90-degree turn should do it. Now press QC50. We're going to add some complexity. Choose Insert Multiple Edge Loops with Interactive Elevation. Now it's time to uncrease the edge loops. Make sure symmetry is on in the x-axis and nudge those points into place. Let's do some tagging. Alt-click the polys for a polygroup, then Q-mesh the polygroup island. Time to clean up the top and bottom faces with the Clip Curve brush. Then grab the Move Infinite Depth brush and start shaping out the form. Alt-click on those 8 polys to transpose them flat. Then do the same for the 6 polys on the other side. Let's continue using the gizmo to perfect the shape. Select Slide by brush size in the ZBrush to adjust the point. Press QC50 and slide those points inward. Then uncrease the internal edges and set the crease level to 3. Go ahead and slide the edges a little bit for the correct fall off. Now we can crease the top and bottom edges. Also, let's change the poly group for the top and bottom faces. Now select Inset Polygroup Island, and then Q-mesh Polygroup Island to punch that hole through. Grab the move brush to fine tune the shape and crease the edge loop. Press Ctrl W to group visible. Now we can add a couple of edge loops. Unmask the hole and give it a polish by features. Let's split the difference with an edge loop right down the middle and then uncrease it. Next, crease the edge loop and get rid of the two edge loops above it. Unmask the top edge loop and scale it inward with the gizmo. Add those two edge loops back and then uncrease them. Now we can set the crease level to 2. Throw in a few support loops and press apply. Now we want to set the poly count to 1 million for the DynaMesh utility. Then use the picker to dial in the resolution. Let's go ahead and run a polish. Alright, let's keep going. Start by masking the model, bring up the gizmo, and choose Polycube from the gear menu. Now invert the mask and split those unmasked points. Then press Unify. Next, scale it along the Z-axis a little bit and get it into the right spot. Now we can slice in a couple of edge loops. Unmask the top and bottom, pushing them back to give it some depth. Weld it along the x-axis. Let's keep the middle edge loop unmasked and nudge it forward. Feel free to continue adjusting the mask and making adjustments as you see fit. Press QC50 and ramp up the crease level all the way to 15. Crease the middle edge loop, then switch the subtool mode to subtractive and turn on the live boolean. Now we can mask the model again. Bring up the gizmo and this time pick Cylinder 3D from the gear. Invert the mask, split the unmasked points, and press Unify. Now we can scale and adjust it into position. Duplicate that cylinder by holding Ctrl and moving with the gizmo. Scale it down and move it into place. Then duplicate it again and slide it over. Now we can mask the subtool and grab the polycube from the gizmo. Invert the mask, split unmasked points, and then press Unify. Let's go ahead and adjust the size and location. Set the crease level to 3 and crank the smooth subdivisions up to 5. Select the top subtool and press New Folder. Now we can drag all the subtools into this folder. Press Apply and delete the lower subdivisions for all the subtractive subtools. Open up the gear menu on the folder and choose Boolean folder. Let's use the picker to fix the resolution. Go ahead and DynaMesh it and give it a quick polish.
Waiting for the song.
Let's go ahead and grab the gizmo again and choose Cylinder 3D from the gear. This time set the H divides to 16. Let's inset the flat island on the front and the back. Then Q-mesh the polygroup island. Now we can adjust the shape using the Move Infinite Depth brush. Go ahead and resize it along the Z-axis. Inset the poly loop and Q-mesh the polygroup island while holding Shift. Then inset the poly loop again. Now we can alt tag the polys for transposing. Then we can hold Control and move with the gizmo for an extrusion. Let's scale it along the X-axis to flatten it. Then we can adjust the size and position. Press QC50. Crease the poly loops and set the crease level to 3. Go ahead and nudge the edge outward slightly. Set the poly count to 0.5 and use the DynaMesh utility. Then we can run a polish. Now use the Clip Curve brush to tweak the angle. Finally, bring up the gizmo and select Project Primitive from the gear. Let's dive a little bit into Project Primitive, especially for hard surface modeling. So what is Project Primitive? Well, it's part of the deformers nestled within the Gizmo 3D, and it's a unique feature in ZBrush that provides a different approach to creating complex shapes. Rather than focusing on one mesh at a time, it allows you to project multiple primitives onto your model, which can drastically morph its shape and add details. Here's an example. Picture this: if you're designing a futuristic helmet, you've got the basic form down using your go-to ZBrush tool, but you're itching to incorporate some angular features to really sell that high-tech vibe. That's when Project Primitive shines. It lets you cast geometric shapes like spheres, cubes, or cylinders straight into your model. What's really cool is the amount of control you have with these projections. You got a host of parameters to fine-tune how the primitive interacts with your model. Yes, you can scale, move, and rotate the primitive, but you can also tweak the blending method, adjust the primitive's form, and even work with symmetry. All these options can add hard surface details that might otherwise be a bit tricky to sculpt manually. That's the real power of Project Primitive, being able to intuitively add shapes that naturally blend with your existing model. It could be a real game changer in your hard surface workflow, allowing you to work faster and achieving shapes you may not have even thought of. Remember though, as with any tool, it might take some time and practice to get comfortable with all the options and controls. But once you get the hang of it, Project Primitive can really level up your hard surface modeling in ZBrush. Alright, so we've been chatting about Project Primitive in ZBrush and its amazing features. Well, let's switch gears a little and chat about another cool tool, the Extender. The Extender is one of those deformers found within the Gizmo 3D, and it's especially powerful when you're working with hard surface modeling. Now, the Extender tool does exactly what you expect from its name. It extends your geometry, but it does so in a way that maintains the shape and volume of your original model. Imagine you're working on a robotic arm and you've modeled a basic shape for the forearm. Now you realize you need it to be longer. Instead of pulling and pushing vertices and hoping you keep everything looking good, you can use the Extender to add length while maintaining the model shape. The tool essentially mirrors your geometry and then adds a bridging section between the two halves. It's like copy-pasting your model, but ZBrush does all the hard work to make it look like a natural extension. What's also really cool about the Extender is that it gives you a lot of control over how the extension looks. You can adjust the size of the bridge section, and you can scale the mirror part. This control makes it really versatile. You can make subtle, natural-looking extensions, or you can make dramatic changes that transform your model. For hard surface modeling, these features are invaluable. The ability to adjust and extend parts of your model while maintaining volume and proportions can save you a lot of time and effort. You don't have to manually tweak each vertex to get the shape right. You can make big changes to your model quickly and easily. So in your hard surface modeling toolkit in ZBrush, the Extender Deformer is definitely a tool you want to keep at hand. Alright, so remember, any roughness from the smoothing will disappear once we do our retopology.